Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I am VRAMalgamAsh. Get it? I work for the big man, and I don't get paid at all. I mean, who needs to be paid when you work for such a great boss? He's awesome. I just love him. So I have been working on and off for a while on a lot of different things. And all of these different things kind of tie into the same project. It's a huge learning experience for me. I haven't been able to pull off the experience that I wanted to share necessarily, but I decided that enough time has passed for this particular project. I need to get something out there. I owe it to the person with whom I have collaborated, and I owe it to you. So please, without further ado, enjoy my first ever interview with game developer, I guess we'll actually introduce him during the interview. Bye for now. Oh, I really hope you enjoy it.
I am sitting very high off of the couch. Oh, jeez. Standing somewhere. I am unable to interact with the camera at all. Launch! Oh gosh! Oh no!
So, I hear you wanted to be on the show today.
This is actually kind of neat once you get the likes for it.
How you doing, Cain?
I'm doing alright, Ash. It's good to be here.
That's awesome. So this is the first show. As you can see, we're on the roof because, well, the network executives can't pay for walls just yet, or ceiling. So I'm really glad that the weather's working out.
I can see the production lights are at least pretty decent.
All right, so you created a game called Loveless.
Yeah, it's developed in RPG Maker MV.
And that was, how long ago was it?
I've been working on the game for, I want to say about 6 years. I think I started in 2015, around about the time that RPG Maker MV was taken off.
You recently decided to remake it, right? In like 3D?
Yes, I made the decision about a year ago to go ahead and take like pretty much the baseline that I had set up already. And recreate it for in 3D for the MV 3D plugin. Mostly because I for a long time I would see those like if MV was 3D, like April Fool's gags that people were throwing out there like year after year, and the fact that this one was actually real and it could be used and all that was crazy exciting for me. So I was just like, if I can, I'm gonna try it. And it was just a leap of faith, and it just worked out. I think I figured it out a lot easier than I thought I would have normally.
What made you want to develop Loveless?
So I am just a very creative person. At least I like to think so. I create stories and things like that, just all the time for me and a couple of my friends. The original concept of Loveless wasn't even anything that it looks like now. It was this game all about me and a few of my friends. We all actually like went out together and we would sword fight with like foam swords, you know. And we all had aliases. Mine was Galahad, my brother's was Gradhart, and one guy, his name was Phoenix, and we just kind of ran on that for a long time. And when I found RPG Maker MV, I was like, this is the perfect thing to just make something like that. So it started off with just me like just toying with the program, and then I'm like, after I want to say about a month, I was like, you know, I can actually make something like this. I combined what I was learning about MV and like just my ability with storytelling and my friends to make just this weird kind of game that was again, just kind of about us. And over time, the story's kind of evolved because it's kind of become less of a game about me and my friends and more of a game of a story I really want to tell, just with my friends and I in it.
Did you have any like concepts for the game before you found a platform and a means to make it into a video game? Like, did you ever, besides the LARP aspect, was there any kind of like tabletop version or anything like that?
Not originally, funny enough. When I very first created the characters and the world, there was no previous concept. It was just how can I make a game with these characters in it? What kind of setting would work with these kind of people in it? But however, I will say that over time, as the story has changed over the course of a few years, there has been multiple changes made specifically due to tabletop role-playing, like Dungeons and Dragons. Gradhart originally was going to be like this barbarian character, because that's how my brother, whenever we would LARP, would portray himself. But whenever we got into like building the game, and I tried him as a barbarian at first, I'm like, it didn't really fit his character very well, at least not for the story I was trying to tell. And he was getting crazy into like anti-paladins in D&D. So I was like, let's make him a Dark Knight, you know? And then he had this big old thing about using like having green flames. He painted his truck with green flames all over. I was like, let's make his whole thing be using darkness to enhance his fire magic or something, to make green fire.
Wait.
Or something like that.
Painted his truck because of the idea, or you got the idea for that?
He's an artist similar to me, but he paints more gritty stuff. He was painting on his truck a Grim Reaper, but instead of having like regular flames or whatever, or what you would imagine, like blue, like flames or whatever, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go with green flames, because green's like his favorite color, and he's like, yeah, green flames just look cool. And that's whenever, like, as he was doing, I'm like, I just got this crazy cool idea. What if Gradhart used an enhanced form of fire magic or something? Because at that time I already kind of like developed Galahad to use like an enhanced version of lightning magic, being his blue lightning rather than traditional like yellow lightning, at least at that stage in the story.
I gotcha.
That's why that's why now in the like most latest demo for Loveless, it's still kind of there in a way.
Do you think that you'll continue work on the 2D game now that you have a 3D incarnation?
I don't believe that I could ever go back to 2D after I've sunk so much time and effort into making this game into a 3D variation. Mostly because I think when I made that leap to 3D, I changed so much about the base game story that I'd end up having to rewrite. I kind of want that to be a stepping stone for me, where I was able to like go from that, and now I'm here. And then, it's just gonna continue to go up like that with time. Who knows, there might be a Loveless 4D one day.
Whenever MV4D comes out. Did you find it difficult, particularly to develop with that extra dimension? Did you find it rewarding enough to... obviously you found it rewarding enough, I guess, to keep going up to that point. But was there anything that stood out as particularly like discouraging about the process?
Discouraging, I would have to say, if anything was discouraging, it was how scared I was about like the concept of adding like 3D models to the game, because I wanted to keep this kind of like blocky look to everything. So I try very hard not to actually use 3D models in the game. There are the two that come with MV3D naturally, but everything else I try to make I try to make with the engine assets by hand if I can. Like I've made chairs out of a table and some wall images just to kind of keep that look. Like the throne in King Arthur's court, the throne is actually just a table with some walls, with some wall curtains on it.
I see.
Yeah, and it's just because like while I could have added in like a very fancy looking 3D model chair in there. One, I am terrified of using 3D models in general, and two, I think it would look very off-putting for the kind of environment I was trying to create. But as far as like the difficulty of getting into it, it was definitely very very difficult to start off with. As soon as I was getting it, it started to get a little bit easier. I wasn't sure if I was going to use the texture packs that I have. I thought I was going to just stick with the MB basic, or TP, I'm sorry.
Okay, gotcha.
But honestly, after I kind of figured out how to change out the graphics and whatnot, I was like steadily figuring out, all right, this would work well here, this would work well here. I could probably, if I just messed with the no text here, I figured just one by one, I was able to integrate the original graphics I was using for Loveless originally into the MB 3D engine. It was daunting, definitely, because it was 100% super duper new, to me at least, when I had started it. But there are a lot of really good tutorials out there, and the engine by itself does help to explain a lot of things. So I think once I finally got into it, it was going pretty smooth, and yeah, I think it's been crazy good for the game. There are things that you can implement using a 3D landscape that you can't do with just 2D. Like one of the very first things, and this seems like this tiniest, simplest, and smallest thing that I did to the very beginning of the game, was in the opening area when you're in the outskirts of Skyhaven. In the original 2D game, you would climb the vines to get up to the top of the cliff to get access to a set of armor. And if you go into a 3D game, the cliff is still there, the vines are still there, but you can't climb them now. You actually have to kind of maneuver yourself around where the cliffs are and go behind the cliffs. Going behind the cliffs allows you to kind of see, oh, there's another chest behind the cliffs. And you wouldn't be able to see that in a standard 2D map now without giving out all that information all at once.
Right.
So it's the smallest little bit of difference, but I think that it was the very first step where I was like, this is how I can change the game and make the 3D actually work for a good reason. And I don't know, it's incredibly rewarding to try it though.
Are you working on anything else right now besides Loveless? Do you have any other projects going on?
Okay, so I've been waiting for a really long time on when would be an appropriate time to talk about this, because I've been working on this secondary project for a little over a year now. I want to say almost 2 years. I got a really great opportunity to work with the company Zombie Orpheus Entertainment, which makes tabletop RPG movies. You can find them on like Amazon Video or on YouTube even.
Link in the description below.
There. Right. They one movie in particular that I loved to death was the movie that they made called The Gamers Darkness Rising, and it's a play off of Darkness Rising. But it's about this team of D&D enthusiasts that are playing through a module for one of their unpublished friends that's trying to get their more published, and so they're running through the modules so that way you can write it up into a story. And particularly, like, that's one of my favorite movies, period. And I reached out to him a few years ago. I was like, what can I do to develop a game for you based on this movie? And it took them about a week. It was super cool how quickly they got back to me. It took them about a week, and they're just like, it's all yours, go for it. It's like,
wow.
They gave me a contract to write up and sign up and everything else. And they were like, if you want to make any changes to lore or anything else like that, here's a ticket that you want to submit to make, so if you want to, you can change some stuff up if you want to. And so, yeah, I'm making a game based off of Darkness Rising using MV, but instead of it being a 3D game, I'm keeping it strictly 2D because it's going to be a very retro themed kind of game. So I think whenever they're like in the real world, and they're like going through the RPG Maker or RPG stuff, it's gonna be the RPG Maker general assets. And then whenever they go into the game world, I'm gonna digitize pretty much all of the portraits of the characters. And use the time fantasy style. Final Boss Blues, the creator, it's been super cool. He even created some custom assets for me as well, just for the project. So yeah, it's a crazy cool project that I'm working on. I couldn't be more excited to try it, and it came at a time whenever I was really disheartened with the progress on Loveless. This was actually I started this project before I even started working on Loveless 3D. And so it's like anytime I feel kind of burnt out on working on one, I'll start working on the other. And then whenever I get burnt out on working on that, I'll start working on Loveless. And then, it's a big back and forth thing. I hope to have them all out eventually.
If it keeps the burnout low
Eventually.
and or away, then yeah, it's very fortunate that you might have a process nailed down for that, for sure.
It's just really exciting to try out to do something a little bit different, and so I'm taking a lot of what I'm learning from D&D, since I'm just like getting into the actual module of D&D. It's neat to be able to like take some of what I've learned from there and implement that into like a video game setting. And on the topic of the things that I can change with the story, is the biggest change that I plan on making is actually allowing you, the player character, to have some sort of involvement with the way that the story progresses. Like, for one, like, you're gonna be a player character added to this party of people, going in and playing, and it's just gonna it's a minor change, but I think that just having one extra person there, I say one with two fingers, I think just having one extra person there might make a big difference.
I'm looking up the gamers Darkness Rising on YouTube, and the third video down, immediate shade. The gamers Darkness Rising bards suck. I'm gonna have to watch that and give them a piece of my mind. That's my class.
If you actually end up watching the movie, the running gag is that the bard in the party dies a lot, but I think that's more or less because the character himself is infamous for killing off their characters very quickly.
Okay, good then. All right, I'll hold off on that counter shade. All right, we have to cut to commercial break. When we come back, more Cain Reval. Every day, hundreds of independent video game developers are torn apart by online reviewers just trying to make a quick buck or gain an extra sub or two. If you or a loved one has been affected in any way by raving lunatic video game reviewers who use arbitrary score systems in order to tear your game apart out of context, please call the law offices of Ash, and Ash. This is no laughing matter. Every day, ones of people are literally turning into Pikachu. Your donation of just $1 an hour can help somebody with their crippling... It's tax season. Also, your loved ones are passing away. You know what that means. Come on down to Death and Taxes. That's it. That's the joke. Those are the commercials. Yeah, and we're back with Cain Reval, developer of Loveless. And, would you consider Loveless 3D a remake, or would you just call that Loveless? Because I think it is just called Loveless, right?
I have it under the title Loveless Special Edition.
Special Edition, that's right.
I also called the original demo for the game Special Edition also. I just like subtitles, funny enough, and I just feel like 3D isn't enough.
Fair enough.
3D isn't enough, so
3D is not.
Loveless Special Edition it is.
For the people that have played Loveless and or its 3D Special Edition, is there anything you could tease about its next release? A hopeful window? Any content?
So as far as the next set of content I have planned for it, for anyone that's played the original 2D version, you would know that after the confrontation with the Void Lord for the second time, technically, there's that's whenever the game kind of really like opens up and everything else. I plan on introducing probably like the first 2 or 3 sections of the game from that point. Look forward to seeing some new faces, some returning faces from previous versions of the demos. Everyone's gonna be rewritten though, so someone who was there before might not serve the same role they used to. The demo is available up on the RPG Maker website actually, so you can even see the very first version of the demo, which is terrible, but if people want to play it, then they're welcome to.
So people have the opportunity to see where you started and then where you're at now, where it started, how it's going. All right, and I think the last question I have, your character is Galahad. Galahad's the one that represents you. Does he have origins before Loveless, or has he become an avatar for you in other things?
Galahad was a creation that I made for LARPing, funny enough. So when people saw my outfit that I made for Galahad for the LARP, they were like, that kind of looks like a Jester outfit because of the way that it was like half orange and half black. And I was like, I guess I can kind of see it. And then as I was building the character for RPG Maker for Loveless, I was like, let's play with that. Let's play with that concept of the Jester. I got a lot of inspiration for like what his moves would be from like personal tastes. Like the lightning spells and everything else come from me personally because I love lightning. It's my favorite element. But other things like some of his other abilities, like the delay attack, came from I believe it was something from Jan Fly, from Jan Fly's book of things. So he had created a bunch of action sequencing and things like that. So I was like, I can do something like that. And since he uses a sword, it's perfect. I can do something like Dragon Ball Z-esque, where they slice and then it waits and then the attack triggers after they put the sword away or something. The creator on YouTube, RPG Don, who created all sorts of different like tutorials for RPG Maker in general, also created all these tutorials on unconventional classes. So they gave me tons of ideas on how to like build an actual Jester. It's a little bit different than the one that I ended up with, but I use a lot of what they came up with in the creation process.
So the Jester Knight was inspired after you started making Galahad in RPG Maker.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of like took shape on its own after a short while, and now at this point, like Galahad is more of his own kind of entity. I can kind of like, it's like I'm putting him on for a moment while I'm writing out all of his dialogue. I think anybody who's ever created something and gets really invested in their characters can agree that after you get really invested in a character, it's just like you're putting them on and experiencing everything that they are and trying to write out a good way of how they would approach certain hardships.
So you do a lot of streaming on Twitch. What kind of stuff do you get into? What kind of games do you like to stream?
So my absolute favorite kind of games to stream are RPGs and almost anything with a created character system. It's super fun being able to take my characters and throw them into whatever I really want to. So there's a lot of Naruto Deporto. Shinobi Striker is the game that got me started with streaming, and that's where I built a really large bulk of my beginning watch base. That's still actually technically still watch me now. Monster Hunter, especially when Rise came out, was another really good influx of new followers that are really just into the kind of stuff that I like to play and the kind of energy I put off. Final Fantasy 14, that game is super fun. I've been playing that since 2013, but I think with everybody else on Twitch blowing up and playing the game, it just made it really popular to play. So I've been trying my hand at that, trying to see if I can make something out of that. It's hit or miss some days, most days, but I still enjoy playing the game, if nothing else. So it's not a complete loss. So speaking of Twitch followers, we actually have one of my Twitch followers right here.
Buenos noches.
Hello.
Oh my gosh. Hi. Yo.
Hello. Is this presentable enough, or should I get into something a bit less powerful?
It is over 9,000.
I have more.
The name and the avatar give me questions, but that is an interview for another day. Are there any Twitch followers that you would like to give a shout out to right now?
Let's see. There's
Take your time. I kind of put you on the spot.
You're fine. You're fine. There's Safi, who's still one of my Twitch moderators. They don't really come out to many streams anymore, but they're always super chill. They're always super cool people. There's Pink Bear, who comes to the Monster Hunter streams. That's just super cool. Pro and Python also, just because Pro and Python and Pink Bear were two big contributors to how I was actually able to get my first payout on Twitch, because they got into a whole like cheering war between the two of them, and it was really cool to see, but it was also incredibly overwhelming for me at the time, because I've never, whoops, it was a little overwhelming for me because I've never been cheered that much before, so I just didn't know how to handle all that exactly. And Quiet QT was my very first subscriber as soon as I actually got affiliated with Twitch, so he's probably always gonna be my number one.
I'm absolutely terrible at catching streams. If I can, it's like a miracle, but like almost every single time anybody is streaming, I'm either at work, I'm asleep, I'm doing video work myself. It never works out. But I'm like, I'll catch the video on demand. I'll catch the video. One of my favorite content creators is a streamer, and I've never seen them live, and they've been doing this for like, I don't know, 3 to 5 years. I always just watch the video on demand.
I mean, honestly, that's why I still create the content that I do. Like, I know that I don't necessarily always, I have the worst kind of schedule when it comes to like when I actually decide to get up and start streaming. So I still make the content even though there's nobody to talk to. I'll sit there and I'll just keep talking. I'll ramble on and on and on, just so that way if anyone decides they want to watch it later, they can, it's not just straight gameplay.
I think that's about all the time we have. Any parting words?
Honestly, subscribe to WathitDew for always awesome and amazing content, and just general coolness in general. This has honestly been like a blast to do.
Awesome. Cain Reval, thanks so much for being on the show. Wish you the best. Cain Reval, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, WathitDew, for having me on. It was really exciting to be here.
And I'll see you later.
Take it easy, Ash.